Hello, it's Monday morning. In a few hours, we'll be down at the shed working on the pinball machine. But I've been doing a lot of work here at the house, and I wanted to just take this opportunity to show it to you where I can get a little bit maybe better lighting and a few more close-ups before I get down to the shed. So let me take you down to the new board and I will show you what I got. So I'm going to be doing this handheld because I'm going to be moving around a bit to show you what I've got here. Unfortunately, I've started a 3D print, so you might hear some noise in the background. But to start off, the new relay board has come in. And as you know, I needed to double up the number of boards for the relays. And for that, I needed more space. So I made a new backboard that was a little bit bigger, and while I was at it, I painted it white so it could be seen. And another thing I did while I was working was I made these little bus bar units to bring my common voltage into all the relays instead of having that little nasty daisy chain of yellow wires under there. And I did that for all of them, so you can see back here on the back side, both the upper and lower one here has it also. I have an extra one here. I just wanted to show that to you. So here is what the bus bar looks like put together, and all it is some Romex power wire with the insulation stripped off of it, and then a 3D printed, a 3D printed cover to cover it up. And on the inside, you can see that there's just a little U-shaped pieces of copper wire that are soldered onto the main bar running on the end, and then I just added little strips of insulation to just a little bit of extra protection. So that really neatens up the look of this thing. Now, in order to get the second board on here, let me actually spin this around to the other side. You can see that I had to manufacture some brackets, which I also 3D printed. I had to actually offset the board about an inch so that I would have room to get into that connector right there, and I had to build a cable to come up and plug into this board. And then the new relay board over here, I also had to build a cable which is plugged in to the plug underneath. So that was everything that I did this weekend. And I'm going to stop the filming while I plug this thing in to show you that I have a relay test program that I put in here that just steps through all the relays, but I'm going to need both hands to plug the cable in. So I'll pause this for a second. Oh heck, I have it plugged in. I should say, okay, I have it plugged in. And I control the relay test with this option switch right here. So I'll flip this option switch on, and then just within 10 seconds this will start up and start running through the test. So there it goes through there. Now it's doing the ones on the bottom. Now it's doing the ones on the top. Now it's doing these new ones over here, and then it's doing the ones that will be plugged in here. But they're bolted in. So, but that's the test program. So when we plug this thing in this afternoon, you should see it thumping all of the solenoids in sequence. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday. I'm down at the shed. Mike will be getting here shortly. As you can see, I just set the board up in here. I'm going to have to drill some holes, bolt that down, and hook it up, and then fix all of the connectors and get those hooked up. But because I like instant gratification, I decided that after I get that board screwed down and hooked up, I'm going to test all the relays that are correct. So that'll be basically everything except for the score wheels and things back here that I haven't wired up yet. But all of the tabletop stuff and all of the new relays I can test out. So that'll give me something instantly to see if the new stuff is working. And then we'll go back to the tedious wiring and stuff. So we'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, I have you handheld for a moment. I just wanted to show that I'd just put one screw up here, which is going to hold that board in for now. I have these two connectors that I have to basically rewire this, and all of these nice bundles that I spent all last week making, I'm going to have to cut back apart and terminate in these two sets of connectors. So we'll be doing that right after this testing. And also you'll remember that back on the other side of the table here, I bypassed these switches by putting some tape on the contacts. I'm going to go ahead and take those out right now so that these relays will be, these solenoids will be running on full current to test the new relays. So I'll bring you back when I start that up. Okay, I'm ready to start the test. I have configured this switch to enable the test, so as soon as I flip that over, within about 10 seconds it'll start cycling through the score test, and it's cycling through, and now it's cycling up the upper ones. Is it not cycling the big ones? Oh yeah. Yep, that's it. Looks like it's... Yeah, that's not really intended to fly open and fly closed. Right. So unfortunately there's a long delay. Oh yeah. Watch that reset. Well, short pulse, so that's one of the things that I didn't know how long to pulse it, so right. we'll have to adjust all of those, and looks like it just needs a little longer pulse. Yeah, it looks like it's working like a champ.
I haven't heard this yet.
It's not hooked up. Yeah, so if you come around back here, you can see that this board runs the chimes and the credit up, down, and free game knocker up here. And none of those are hooked up yet. And then this one does all the score wheels, and none of those are hooked up yet. So the only thing that's working are these that are firing the relays on the table, and these are the other ones that are firing the relays on the table. So they're firing off as they go. So all of that seems to be working quite well. So we'll go ahead and put you guys up on the stand, and we'll go ahead and wire. I keep saying we'll go ahead. We're going to go ahead and wire this up. So we'll bring you back when we're done with that. Okay, hopefully you could see me. I cut those wires apart, re-terminated each of them individually. I got the 8 coming from the 8 score wheels up here. I have the 8 coming from the bottom score wheels down there. And I took all of the ground wires and I commoned them all together and just brought them down to the ground terminal lug. So now to help me find which solenoids are which, last time we ohmed them out. This time I've just taken a hot lead running from the hot power strip there, and I'm just going to tap it onto each connector and it'll energize a coil, and then we'll know which one it is and we'll plug it into the appropriate connector. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, we have the 2 connectors put together. They're not dressed in or tied down yet, but they're all hooked up. So we're going to start the test running again, and the score wheel should now be running. I'll step back a little bit. Looks good.
So the AC relays have a delay.
That's only because it's running through the chimes.
Running through the chimes.
And they're not chiming
What
yet.
about the lockout?
Right, yeah, that's true.
Oh, let's get the chimes.
Okay, so we've got the wires run for the chimes, so we're going to hook those up next. Turn that off. And it comes to rest. So as I was saying while the noise was running, we have the chime wires run. They go into this connector, so we're going to find the mating connector for that, wire that up, and then we'll test it out with the chimes running.
We always look it up.
Yes, we do, but hold on. So just so you guys know, we have just run the chimes, but we don't know which chime is going to go to which connector. So we're going to power on the machine. I'm going to temporarily touch these to the 50-volt supply here, and hopefully the chime will chime, and we'll figure out which one we want to use for 10s, 100s, and 1000s. So Mike, you want to turn the machine back on? Okay, I'm starting with, are you ready?
Yeah. That's the middle C.
Okay, so middle one's easy, right? So,
That's the longest one.
okay, so this one should be,
And that's the shortest.
okay. And if we turn on the test program now, we should be getting chimes along with everything else. Is this table good? No, I don't think it is. And we're done. Okay, so it is time to start wiring up switches. Okay, we're going to start wiring up the switches, and just for simplicity, I'm going to start with the 0 switches. So we ran these wires the other day. They come down here, and the blue wires are the common grounds, and those common grounds are going to go down and terminate into terminal block 4 there. So I'm going to connect those up right now. You guys have seen so much wiring connection. I'm not going to film this, but we'll bring you back and show it to you when we're all connected. Okay, I have all of the 0 switches wired in. Basically, they're the white wires coming from each of those switches. They're wired in, and they go to that one connector there, which is a quarter of all of the connectors that we have to connect. I have a little test routine that's supposed to tell me which switch is closing, but I obviously have a bug in it because it keeps giving me all kinds of randomnesses, and so I'm gonna fix that for next time and check out the code, or just dump the binaries out or something. So anyway, for now, we're gonna stop here for the night. It was a really good night. We got the solenoids all working. We got a quarter of the switches wired up. And while I was doing that, Mike was running the wires up to the chimes up here. And also the wires for the flippers on this side and the tilt mechanisms. We had run stuff for the coin door, but Mike realized that the coin door doesn't have coin mechanisms on it. And so we are not going to wire up the coin mechanisms, obviously, since we don't have them. And we've been talking about other things we might do. We'll save that for some future video if we get onto it. So the only thing that's actually going to be wired on this whole front panel is the credit switch. It'll be in free play mode, and you'll walk up, hit the credit button, and it'll add a game to the gameplay. So anyway, that's our plan for now. If we come across some credit switches or coin switches someplace, we might add them back in the future, but probably not. So that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.